cover. So we're going to cover talk a little bit about Qatar as a destination, just because that is a destination that maybe not everyone's familiar with. It's not a typical FIT leisure type destination. Of course, we're going to do a deep dive on this event. So basically walk through how the event works, what's included, obviously the travel experiences and the packages that we have, what's included in those. And again, we are, as a tour operator, we are selling complete travel packages or travel experiences, of course, with tickets, but also hotel and transportation, tours, et cetera, experiences. And then finally, back to what Satish was asking earlier, what are the types of, what types of clients are we targeting for this event? Or do we typically see coming to these events? And how do we qualify them? So what are some good questions to ask? Obviously, because it's COVID, I'd be remiss to not talk about this, but we do have, for all new bookings, we have a program called a trip protection program. So this is in the event that the sporting event organizer decides to cancel the event or proceed without spectators. We do offer 100% money back guarantee. It is an additional fee, so it is a 10% fee on top of the package. Of course, commissionable to use the travel advisor. This is not trip insurance, so it wouldn't substitute trip insurance. You would have to purchase trip insurance for things like lost luggage and misconnections and so forth. This is purely if the event organizers cancel the event or proceed without any spectators. All right, to start off though, let's get a quick poll. I want to make sure everyone's engaged. Do you want to launch our first poll, Brittany? All right, who is the reigning World Cup champion? All right, love it. So we've got a little bit over the board, yeah. I don't know, is it multiple choice? Can they choose multiple people, Brittany, or is it one and done?
No, it's just one and done.
All right. So we got 40% or 4 people in the group are saying France. That is the correct answer. Let's see here. Germany would have been the answer a long time ago. Brazil would have been the answer a long time ago, but that's good. We got 4 people that got the answer right. So thank you for participating in that. Do I need to hit share results? Okay. All right, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Qatar. So Qatar shares a border with Saudi Arabia, located obviously next to Bahrain and UAE. It is a very small country. So the total population size is 2.6 million. And what's interesting about that is there's only 313,000 actual Qataris, which is what the term is for the local person. So everyone else is really an expat. They're either bringing people in, they're bringing basically all the workforce in to work all the different functions in Qatar. So it's a very small population. It is the wealthiest country in the world, mainly due to oil and gas reserves. 99% of the country lives in Doha, which is the main city, the capital. They have got the 9th largest airport in the world, serviced by all major airlines from all, or at least all the major destinations. So it's a very easy destination to get to. It's also serviced by Qatar Airways, which if you're not familiar, it's a great airline. They got a wonderful product called the Q Suite product, which is like their business class, and it's all suites, so it's quite nice. They have a stated strategic goal of rapidly growing their tourism, and of course, they're using World Cup or them hosting the World Cup as sort of the launch pad for that. But what's amazing, at least to us, has been the development that's been going on. So they are investing a lot of money into the country, into hotel, hospitality, experiences. And the last time we were there, which is a couple of years ago, it's amazing how fast they've grown the country and how fast they've grown all that product. So it's definitely a unique and rapidly growing destination for leisure travel. So let's talk a little bit about World Cup, the basics. So what is this thing we call the World Cup? So it's the International Men's National Team Football Championship, or like what we like to call here in the US, Soccer Championship. So these are all the national teams around the world, and they all have to qualify. And you'll start seeing some of those qualification matches being played leading up to it. And so they all have to qualify. It happens every 4 years. It's always in a different destination. So in 1994, the US actually hosted a World Cup. Last time, which was in 2018, We were in Russia for the World Cup. Before that, it was in Brazil. Before that, it was in South Africa. Before that, it was in Germany. So it keeps rotating around the world. And obviously, you'll probably follow that in the news. Sometimes it's somewhat controversial when they do announce who gets to host the World Cup. And I know that the award to Qatar was very controversial leading up to it. But it is what it is, and that's where we're going. So it's normally always held in June, July, but given the destination this time around, with it being in Qatar with the heat, they did change the date. So it's now going to be November 21st through December 18th. So it does span sort of obviously what's Thanksgiving for us here in the US, and obviously kind of getting close into the holiday season. So there are 5 stages to the World Cup. There's the group stage, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But in the group stage, all teams will basically play 3 matches. And so these are not elimination matches. These are sort of qualifying matches for the next round. Once they qualify from group stage, like the first 2 teams in each group will essentially, let me remove that. Can you remove that, Brittany? I don't know what that is. Do undo. Oh. All right, well, I'm not sure how to remove that, but I'm just gonna keep going. So once they qualify in group stage, they move on to the round of 16, and then from there on to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. Obviously, round of 16 through the finals, those are all elimination matches. So the stadiums, so this is something that's very unique to Qatar. First of all, there's going to be 8 stadiums where all these matches will be played. They're all fully air conditioned, state of the art. 7 of them are brand new. 7 of them are brand new. They literally did not exist 2 years ago. And each stadium is located no more than about 45 minutes away from Doha, which is obviously, again, the capital. But what's fascinating about that is this is the first time in World Cup history that all the stadiums where all the matches are being played are within this short of a distance from each other. So as a compare and contrast, last year or last time in 2018, we were in Russia, and the World Cup was being played all over Russia. So the travel time and the inconvenience of having to pack and unpack and move between different cities was definitely a factor, and has always been a factor of the World Cup. And it's sort of been one of the disadvantages of from a fan experience perspective, because it would be difficult to see a lot of matches. So here, what's really super unique about Qatar is that it's an opportunity from a fan perspective to really see a lot of matches while they're in Doha. Again, all brand new stadiums. 7 of these didn't even exist at the time that Qatar submitted for the bid. And the other thing that's unique is they just opened up a brand new metro system. Again, just a couple of years ago, they were literally just still working on this. They just opened up a brand new metro system, which is super fast and safe, and services all the stadiums. So again, just another, from a fan perspective, it's a great way to get around to all these different stadiums and see as many World Cup matches as possible. I see a bunch of chats. Brittany, are there any?
Yes, so I can just kind of summarize. So someone says, still controversial, would love to end the discussion on how to overcome client hesitation to travel there, given she mentioned a recent New Yorker article regarding Afghanistan negotiations and Taliban. So we can maybe address that. And then Catherine says, I think diehard football fans may not care about the actual destination. And Miriam says, a soccer fan will travel to Mars if the World Cup were there to take place.
That is so true. That is so true. We'll talk a little bit about exactly what type of fans we're talking about. And then we'll come back on the hesitation to travel. I don't know if, let's try to hit that at the end. So let's talk about the who and why, right? So the comments about that the soccer fans will travel no matter what, that is so true. First and foremost, football, or soccer as we call it, is by far the most popular sport in the world. Extremely passionate fan base. And like you said, or like several have mentioned, they will travel anywhere to go see their teams compete. From the US perspective, this is still very much a growing sport for us. It is considered the 4th most watched sport within the US. and the second fastest growing sport, but it is still very much up and coming for a lot of Americans. And with that said, I think it's fascinating. Something that we've seen is that there is a fascination here in the US to go and experience the fandom or the national pride that comes out during these World Cup games. So much so that when we talk to clients about going to the World Cup, they want to see Team USA, assuming we qualify, but it's not their number one priority. Like they will come out and say, well, we definitely want to see Spain. We definitely want to see Germany. We definitely want to see Brazil, all the big market teams. And it's just, seeing Team USA while they're there is great, but just is not always the number one priority. Now, compare and contrast that to, for example, a Mexican fan or a European fan, or, they will only go to the World Cup if their team qualifies. So in Russia, which was the first time in a while, I think, that the US hadn't qualified, unfortunately, we still had a lot of American clients that went and requested to go, which again just kind of plays into what I just said. There's this fascination with experiencing a World Cup and what it is that everyone else in the world is so passionate about. I'll play this little video clip here for you, just to kind of show. We shot this in Russia. We were walking. I forgot what game this was. I think it was Mexico versus someone else. And we shot this video, but I just want to play it for you so you can kind of get an idea of how just passionate these fans are. This is all taking place outside the stadium. This is before they even get to the stadium. So the passion is high, the fandom is high, and it's just a lot of fun to be there, at that time. And so the target clients that we typically look for here is that we do a lot of families, like we talked about. We do a lot of father-son trips, guys trips, obviously corporate groups. But as you're thinking about your client base, obviously Americans, but also think about expats that are living here in the US. So if there are like transplants from England or Spain or what have you, those are all people that are, probably diehard football fans and want to go back and see their team, assuming they qualify, for the World Cup. Mexican clientele, we have a lot of clients from Mexico that will travel with us. Again, that's just a super passionate group of people for football. So moving on to the actual schedule, I just want to show this to you really quickly. It's a little bit overwhelming, I know, but so these are the group stages. So every team, so once the teams qualify, once the countries qualify for the World Cup, they basically enter into the group stage. The group stage, they have to play 3 matches. They get put into groups of 5, and so they play 3 matches, and then it's basically they get seeded. So only the first and second team in that group makes it through to the next stage, which is the round of 16 stage. But group matches, or the group stage, is really important because if you're following a certain team or if you want to see a certain team, this is a great time to be there in the event that team gets knocked out and doesn't progress to the next stage. So we see a lot of I would say a lot of like what we call follow your team packages, people that are specifically there to follow a specific team, like Team Mexico or Team USA. Once they get through the group stages, now they're into what we call the elimination rounds or the knockout stages. So it starts with round of 16. So again, these are going to be the 16 top teams at the World Cup, or top teams in the world that are competing in the elimination round. So this is literally, at the end of this match, it could go into overtime, it could go into penalty kicks, but these are elimination rounds. And then from there, we progress into quarterfinals, semifinals, and then of course into the final. Semifinals and finals, this is where we see a lot of corporate groups for the semifinals and finals, but obviously also a lot of fans as well. Let's talk a little bit about our sort of the ticket categories at the World Cup. So there generally are 4 ticket categories, category 1 through 4. So the way the tickets work is categories 3 and 4 are going to be what we call entry-level tickets. So these are going to be behind the goal, and you can kind of see that here. So these are the, oops, let's see, where is my little pen? All right. So anyway, if you can see my cursor on the screen, it's going to be these sections here behind the goal. Categories 2 are going to be in the corners, okay, upper or lower level. And then category 1 is the most broad category that stretches between the goals. And so what we've done for the most discerning clients is we've created a subcategory. We're calling it Premium 1. So for the most discerning client that wants just the best seats, at the World Cup, we've subdivided category 1 into upper level and lower level. So we're calling the lower level Premium 1. All right, talk a little bit about sort of, again, I mentioned this at the get-go, all brand new stadiums, or 70 brand new stadiums, all located within about a 45-minute drive is really the furthest. And you can see there's a large concentration of these stadiums right in Doha. So this is, again, super unique from a fan experience perspective, really able to see a lot of matches during the time that you're there. Okay. So what are the travel package inclusions that we have? So again, we're a tour operator, so we're selling the complete travel experience. We don't sell the tickets by themselves. So these are going to include airport transfers, obviously hotel, tickets to the matches that they want, transportation to the matches that they want, as well as we can sprinkle in some different experiences, which I'll touch on here in a moment. And the starting price for group stages are going to be $6,950 per person, kind of goes up from there, all depending on how many matches they include and what sort of extras that they want to have as part of their itinerary. So I'll just skip through some of this here fairly quickly. But knockout stages are roughly about the same starting price, a little bit of a discount. And then we get to the semis and finals, and obviously that's where the price does move up quite substantially. There's a lot of wonderful product, a lot of wonderful hotel product in Doha. Some brand new hotels that are coming up. Some of these have already been built, like the Park Hyatt, the Mandarin Oriental, but they definitely have great luxury product, as well as the next level, which is what we call deluxe. So the Hiltons, the Marriotts, the Westins, et cetera, of the world. So we certainly feel like they're very well covered in terms of hotel property or hotel product. So let's talk a little bit about the experiences. So there's a variety of different experiences that we can include into itineraries, and this will kind of just give you a taste for what Qatar has to offer. The Pearl is, similar to what you've probably seen in Dubai as a destination. The Pearl is a super high-end, man-made or man-built island. Basically, it's great for shopping. It's just great for walking around. There's a huge marina there. Every top brand known to mankind is represented in Doha. Again, I go back to my opening statement about, this is the wealthiest country in the world. Dune bashing. This is something that, Brittany and I went off and did when we were there. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but this is definitely a different type of experience. So this is, driving through the desert in 4x4 vehicles at fairly high speeds and kind of surfing the sand. I mean, for us, it was a fantastic moment because we went there right close to sunset and did this. And so the views and the colors in the desert were amazing. And then we ended up at this tented Bedouin place and had dinner and rode some camels. And so it's just a great fun experience to kind of sprinkle in to a trip to the World Cup. Some other fun things, they've got desert camel safaris. They also have Souk Waqif, which is just a traditional market with some fantastic shops and just very unique, experiences sort of woven into that. One of them, which I'll talk a little bit about, is we stumbled across this shop where you could buy falcons. So falconry, which I'm going to move on to this slide here, is a big deal in Qatar. It's fascinating. So we walked into the store, and imagine it's like a pet store, except they're selling falcons and anything falcon related, and just watching these amazing birds, and they were feeding the birds, and it's just and training the birds, and not that we would necessarily buy one of these and bring it back home to the U.S., but it's a very unique experience. And so falconry, the actual falconry experience, is also something that can be included in an itinerary in Doha. So camel racing, that's another one. Never thought I would have enjoyed that, but so they have a racing circuit with camels, and it's fascinating. The jockeys don't ride the camels. They have these electronic jockeys, and the actual jockey will ride in a 4x4 along, and you can sort of see them here in this picture. They're riding alongside the camels, and coaching them, and cheering them on and what have you. So it's just another very unique to this destination type experience. Let's talk a little bit about some key questions to ask. So this kind of goes back to what Satish was asking earlier. So people that, if you're thinking through your client base of who might be a good fit to go to the World Cup, soccer fans, families, father-son type trips, one question to always ask is, have they been to the World Cup before? And if so, when? If it's a long time ago, that might, there may be some expectation setting in terms of pricing, because obviously everything over time just, it does change. Other questions to ask would be, which matches do they want to see, and how many? So one thing that I don't think I mentioned is the actual draw for the World Cup happens in December. So right now, all the teams or all the countries are in the process of qualifying, and will qualify between now and December. And then once they've qualified, the draw happens in December, which is where they specifically seed what teams are going to be matched together in what groups. And that's when we start to know what teams are going to be playing where and when. And so depending on what time frame the client's booking, we may or may not know which countries are seeded and where they're going to be playing. But understanding from a client perspective how many matches they want to see, and if there's a specific team that they want to see, those are conversations that we can engage in. What sort of budget are they working with? Again, so the main cost drivers are going to be obviously the hotel, what level of hotel that they're looking for, deluxe versus luxury, et cetera. How many matches do they want to see? Do they want to go to the group stage, which is obviously going to be more economical, versus the semifinals and finals at the end? Do they want to include VIP hospitality? What sort of tours, private transportation, et cetera, are they thinking? And so something that we like to do is we like to, what I call bracketing, which is a good way to kind of get an initial budget from a client. And so our opening package, our lead-in pricing for our packages start at $6,950 a person. I go up from there. Again, just depends on when they want to be there, how long they want to be there, and the hotel, number of matches, et cetera. So an average price is probably closer to about $10,000 or $11,000 a person, and that's obviously before airfare. All right, I'm going to see if we can open up for some questions. I think I'm running on time, so.
Yep,
Brittany,
we
do
have
have anything?
we have some questions in the chat. One was, will alcohol be allowed at the matches?
Yeah, so Qatar is dry. So what's interesting about Qatar is technically it's dry. And that's obviously because of the religion and what have you. But the international hotels, not all, but most of the international hotels are wet. So they do offer alcohol. They have bars and restaurants, obviously, where they're serving alcohol. They have very strict rules about not walking around and drinking in the streets. And that is something that I know is still being worked on, because obviously the World Cup and the soccer fans, it's common to see people celebrating in the streets. So there's also what's called fan villages. So those are all things that I think FIFA and the Qatar government are still working through to figure out exactly what are they going to be allowed to do and where. But the hotels will have bars. It's just questionable as to what will be able to happen in the streets. It's probably going to be limited to the fan villages.
Okay, another question is, are some of these booked last minute for the finals to see their team in the finals?
Yeah, so we typically keep selling all the way through the tournament, because as you're pointing out, in some cases we don't, we get a lot of last minute bookings based upon the teams that are progressing through the different knockout stages.
Are we going to have access to hospitality suites
at the stadiums? I'm assuming that's what they mean, but yes. So there will be,
Yes.
So there will be hospitality products. So there's going to be varying levels of hospitality product. Every stadium will typically, and I haven't looked at it here recently, but typically we'll have like 4 or 5 different levels. So these are going to range from, a private suite like you're maybe mentioning, but also to a more general area where they'll have hospitality set up that people can engage in. Yes.
When will you be able to start booking packages?
So that's a great question. I was just self-serving, but yes, we've already started taking reservations. I think we've been selling for almost a year. Yeah.
Okay, Mitchie asked, when will we find out which teams qualify to play in Qatar, which I believe you already answered, which was December?
Well, December is the draw. So the teams are qualifying right now. So in each region, and each region qualifies differently, meaning, Asia Pac or EMEA, which is Europe, or here in the Americas. So each region is currently going through and qualifying the various different countries. And then in December, that's when we have the draw where all the qualified teams get put into a pool and then get assigned to the various different groups for the group stage.
Okay, and another question is Al Bait Stadium, which seems to be the furthest one away. So will the train go out that far or best to take a taxi?
The train is connected to all stadiums. Yeah, the subway train is connected to all stadiums. Again, that is one of the things that I think is going to be great from a fan perspective.
Right, and not to mention we'll be offering some transportation to those as well.
Yep. In fact, just while we're talking about it, I just want to kind of drive that point home a little bit. So if you look at like the first day here, Monday, the 21st of November. See, my pen's working. Nope, still not working. Okay, there it is. Right. So if you look at this column right here, there are basically multiple matches in that day. So on the 21st, there's a match at 1, at 7, at 4, and at 10. So it really is an opportunity to see potentially 4 matches in one day if people really have that drive, or at least they can see 2, which again is pretty unheard of.
Okay, Egypt, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia have had a feud with Qatar. Will the citizens in those countries be allowed to enter Qatar, or is this something I should look into separately?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but that is probably something that we should know the answer to. I do know that the rift between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, I believe, is lifting. Is that right? That was the last news that we got. So that's all lifting and starting to cool down.
Right.
That is good. But as far as what were the other countries? It was Egypt and what else?
Egypt, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And then to go off of that, are the price totals including taxes, and what is the commission?
Yep, includes all taxes, and the commission is included too. Commissions are 10%. We can either work on a gross or net basis. It's up to you. Yep.
Okay, and Miriam asks, these are great questions, by the way. What deposit do you require if booking in the next couple of weeks?
Typically, it's a 25% deposit, and then we do 3 additional payments after that.
And then Cassandra asked if you want to do a blog post with lots of information you shared here in order to promote the idea and possibly and experience, would that be possible and how to facilitate that?
A blog post that we would do or that they would do?
I think that they were wanting to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. Yeah, and if you need any content from us, as far as we have like a 1-page teaser that where we don't have any of our corporate logos on there. We're happy to send that to you. You can use that as well to help promote it.
And that's all that's in the chat currently.
Okay. I know I'm a couple of minutes over, but I'm happy to spend as much time as needed to answer any of the questions. You can take yourself off mute if you just want to fire away with some questions and engage.
We do have an exit poll.
Oh, that's right. We have an exit poll. All right. Well, before we lose everybody, let's just quickly do the exit poll and then we'll open it up. So again, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're trying to do these webinars once a month, and we pick a different sporting events to go deep on and to discuss. And so I'd like to know, what sporting event coming up would you be interested in learning more about in our next webinar next month?
And it is a rather long poll if you need to extend your screen so that you can see all of the events, and you can pick more than one. Lots of interest in Paris.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, so that's good. So Paris, we were that's all right. Can we share the results, Brittany? You're showing the results already? All right. So it looks like Paris is the winner in terms of for next month. So we will do it. We will put together our webinar for next month for Paris. For those of you that selected some of these other events, we just recently did the Masters. We just recently did, I think Wimbledon was last month, right?
Yes.
So as a follow-up to this webinar, I'll send you a link to this recording, but I'll also send you a link to our Virtuoso landing page. There we've got, I think in the training section, we've posted every webinar that we've done for the past year.
Okay, and I guess if we did want to circle back to the ideas to overcome controversy, was continues with recent press. She said DC politicos are pretty up on all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I would love for you to maybe unmute and kind of share a little bit more with like what you're thinking there. I mean, is it a destination that some people are maybe not going to be comfortable traveling to? Possible. I can see where we can get some people that would not be comfortable, but like someone else mentioned here at the get-go is that soccer fans, they're pretty open and willing to travel to a lot of different destinations. Well, you could have said the same thing about Russia in 2018, that we were leading up to a lot of political constraint or political issues and the feud between the U.S. and Russia, and that just didn't seem to really change the demand for the World Cup. Brittany and I were there for the whole month or whatever. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Like 35 days we were there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 35 days.
And nor did that affect any of our clients' experiences while they were there.
Not at all.
Sorry, Philip. Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
All my clients are based in the Middle East. That's why I had a question about the Egyptians and Bahrainis and stuff like that. And I grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Qatar never came up as a destination where it seemed to be a problem. I'm not too sure about this press. I'd love to get that article. If you don't mind, somebody can send it to me. That'd be fantastic. But I can say by experience, I lived in Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and never ever had a problem. So I'm not too sure where that's coming from, but yeah, I'd love to learn more just to see what the deal is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, we were there. Was the last time we were there? Like a couple of years ago. I mean, super safe. I mean, just super safe. Yeah, and very clean and very modern and yeah, definitely catering. I mean, again, I think the other thing I talked about at the beginning. I mean, they are really investing a lot of money in making this sort of the next, leisure FIT destination. I mean, they got some catch up to do probably too with Dubai, and I think there's some recognition on that. But I mean, they are really investing a lot of money into that space. But thanks for sharing that. Any other questions? Any other thoughts, comments?
Hey, Phil, just one more thing. You guys creating itineraries with the activities and stuff like that? And if so, are they white labeled?
Yeah, so the itineraries themselves, are you talking about like once the itineraries, like are you just talking about like sample itineraries or?
Oh no, just like the final itineraries. Once if they buy the tickets and the hotels and everything, transportation, obviously, yeah. So I just want to see, and if they want to include the activities as well, because I think you guys can organize a dune bashing and stuff like that, if I'm correct. So yeah, I'd love to know. Got the price, the commissions, all that, and then yeah, is it white labeled? That'd be good to know as well. So I figured I'd just throw that by you here.
Yep, Brittany, can you talk a little bit about the itinerary, the tool that we're using? It's a great nugget share for travel advisors anyway. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. So we use Access for our itineraries. So very easy to integrate agents and have them use all of their, labeling. And we can just be we can just coordinate on the itinerary. So, and then obviously, if you're not familiar with Access, there's an app so that they can have all of those, details in the palm of their hand on their phone. And we provide a lot of information along the way to kind of help along with that. Yeah.
That was actually a nugget that we got a while back from another travel advisor. So we changed our itinerary platform to that. So it's a super great platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and looks like Cassandra was asking for our contact information.
Okay, great. Perfect. Yeah. Let me transition to this slide here. That is us. So onpointevents.com. Again, I'll follow up with this webinar recording and a link to our Virtuoso page as well, so you can see some of the past recordings that we've done for various other events. But I don't want to keep anyone any longer than necessary. I really appreciate everyone spending the time. Really appreciate it. And let us know if there's anything we do to help.
And I put Philippe's email in the chat as well, if anybody wants to email him directly.
Perfect. Thanks so much, guys.